Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Askey, and I'm Assistant Principal with the Thames Valley District School Board. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment here just to acknowledge the significant role that parents and families play in the lives of our students, especially at this critical time in the transition from elementary to secondary school. In Thames Valley, families and schools work together as partners to support students. In our school communities, we value this partnership, and as a principal, I see this in action every day. It is so important that these connections between home and school that were developed in the elementary years continue into secondary school. So this evening, we are so excited to share some information with you regarding the grade 9 math program here in Thames Valley and answer questions that have been asked about the grade 9 math program. To help us get started and better understand what tonight is all about, I'd like to introduce Rob Caparici, who is just one of the key individuals that helped put this event together. Rob?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Scott. We're excited to be here to share some information about grade 9 math for everybody. And to get us started, I just wanted to acknowledge, as some of you may know, a survey was sent out to families where questions about grade 9 math could be asked. This survey resulted in over 100 responses from families, which have been sorted into common questions, and they will all be addressed tonight. Listening to what families want to know mimics what our teachers are doing every single day in their classrooms, taking student voice and interest and building the education around it. This presentation truly came out of the interest that families had asked for, and just like what teachers are doing in their classroom, by tailoring instruction to student interests, we've made this presentation to match and address the interest and questions in which you had. Throughout the presentation, you can use the chat feature to ask any questions that you would like. These questions are going to be monitored throughout the entire presentation by our team. At the end of the presentation, we're going to do our best to answer as many of the unanswered questions as possible. The new grade 9 math curriculum has been implemented for one full semester, plus a bit of second semester. Staff and students are feeling a lot more comfortable and confident in the content and implementing the new curriculum, with ongoing reflection continuing to be at the forefront of our work as teachers. Staff have been excited by some of the new aspects of the new curriculum, especially the coding and financial literacy portions, which we'll get into a little bit tonight. As part of the natural ongoing reflection that occurs throughout the school year, teachers have been intentionally talking with students and families about what is working well and making adjustments accordingly to implement with new semesters every year. So I'd like to just introduce some of our system staff who are involved in supporting teachers and students in grade 9 math. This team works closely with teachers and administrators to support all students across Thames Valley. Marian Moynihan and Christine Giannakopoulos are our two superintendents of student achievement. You just met Scott Askey, one of our system principals, and we're fortunate to work with another system principal, Leanne Cribbs. We have a second secondary math learning coordinator, Greg Harris, who's also a former department head at A.B. Lucas Secondary School. Kate Crossland-Smith is our secondary math learning facilitator. And we're really lucky to have 3 D-streaming leads as part of this team as well. These D-streaming leads teach grade 9 math in their respective schools in the morning, and then support other teachers across Thames Valley with grade 9 math in the afternoon. Jeff Waite is a D-streaming lead and a teacher at College Ave Secondary School in Woodstock. Cassie Taminga is a D-streaming lead and a teacher at Strathroy District. And Danielle King is a D-streaming lead and a teacher at Montcalm Secondary School.
So as Rob just said, we do want to take the time to go through some of the questions that were given to us in early January. And we wanted to start by just recognizing that this is a unique time for grade 8s as they're thinking about and planning to enter into high school. We recognize it's unique, and they've spent the last 10 possible years in a physical building that they're very comfortable with, and going to a new building has some discomfort or maybe unfamiliar. So we want to make sure that we encourage families to stay engaged, stay involved. When your students go to secondary school, we do respect that relationship, and we value the relationship that parents, guardians, and home play a role in that. So we encourage you to continue to connect with your students' school and teachers. You know, they're the experts in knowing your student and supporting them through this transition. And I can say, as a grade 9 de-streamed teacher from semester 1, I was in constant contact with my students' families, and it was important to make sure we develop those mutually beneficial relationships. So we wanted to make sure we are going to go through what you value. So you're going to notice a few things tonight. We're going to show you some videos, we're going to show you some photos, and math is going to look very different than what maybe you might have experienced. You know, you're going to see students vertically standing, solving problems. You're going to see them using manipulatives, things that are hands-on, connecting to concepts. You're going to see them engaging in collaborative tasks as part of the regular instruction and assessment process. As a system, we want to continue to focus on decreasing those feelings of anxiety in math class by creating and utilizing various strategies that allow students to have those positive learning experiences. And we continue to emphasize the importance of building and strengthening the connections between grades 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, and ensuring those best teaching practices from both elementary and secondary are shared with each other to help support the learning. We have continually gone back and cultivated those relationships, and we are going to look to make sure that your grade 8 students see grade 9 as just a continuation of their learning and not just foreign concepts.
Thanks, Greg. So why de-stream courses? The Ministry of Education has made the decision to have all grade 9 courses de-streamed across Ontario, starting with math, as Greg said, this past September. So this is not unique to Thames Valley, but this work is happening across all school boards in Ontario. And the purpose of de-streaming is rooted in equity and ensuring that all of our students have access to the courses that they need to pursue future studies and careers. Historically, streaming has negatively impacted some students disproportionately in their pathways in and beyond high school. In our world today, we know that students need access to a quality education that will ensure equitable outcomes for everyone. In the classroom, there are high standards for all students, and equity is at the heart of everything teachers do in getting to know their learners. So de-streaming allows for a better continuity of learning from grade 8 and into grade 9. In the past, students who were enrolled in grade 9 applied math at the early age of 13 experienced future pathways and careers closed to them even before starting high school. Through de-streaming, all students now have access to any pathway after grade 9 that matches their future academic or career goals. This will leave as many doors open as possible for students across all subject areas. With the right learning experiences in mathematics, we know that it can open doors for our students that will impact their lives for years to come. But to make this impact, we all need to work together.
All right, let's have a look at this question that's an example from one of our classes. So this kind of question is what we call an open middle question, and it allows students to use their creativity in solving problems. So looking at the number line there, we have 0% to 100%, and the rules at the top say, using only the digits 0 to 9, at most once, fill in the boxes to create an accurate number line. So when I tried this with students in my class, Some of their approaches were to think about the percentage on the bottom and think about what proportion those boxes on the bottom might represent. So it's less than half, so maybe they jump in with 20%, so 20 are used up. And then they went and tried to figure out what number they could figure out that would be 20% of a total. So for example, 17 out of 85. So that would all the criteria would be met and they would be correct. But with this kind of question, we can push their learning further and say, okay, so is that accurate? Do you think that 20% is actually the proportion of the number line that those boxes are on? And students started thinking about it and they said, well, maybe it's about a third of the way. Well, a third's awkward because they quickly figured out that that's about 33%. You can't use 3 twice. And so they started to get into a deeper thinking process. They then engaged in problem solving to see if they could use a percent that was slightly lower or higher and see if they could find unique boxes with 0 to 9. Some students pushed a little further. They got out rulers and looked at what proportion the boxes did fall on and got more accurate, came to about 31%, and then went to solve the problem from there. So as I said before, this is an example of a question that teachers may use with their students, which allows students to use creativity in solving problems in multiple ways. So this is called an open middle question, which allows students to enter the concept with their own prior knowledge and also extend their thinking as far as they would like. It's often referred to as a low floor, high ceiling questioning technique. This simply means that all students will be able to use prior knowledge to start their thinking, a low floor, to make sense and understand the content. So those are students coming in at 20% and just getting busy with it and then starting to think deeper. As they build upon this knowledge and continue to expand their thinking, students can be encouraged to take it as far as they can. So those are the students getting out their rulers and puzzling beyond 1/3. That refers to a high ceiling. So this ensures that we're building on the entry point and that the content is both accessible and appropriately challenging for all students. A low entry point does not refer to the curriculum content. It refers to ensuring that all students are able to access prior knowledge to make sense of the current content curriculum and ensuring expectations are high for all students. All students will be encouraged to use manipulatives, as was mentioned earlier, concrete, hands-on material, like a deck of cards or tiles, to help understand and demonstrate their learning. These manipulatives can be physical or digital to help make sense of otherwise abstract mathematical concepts. With the example on the screen, students could use playing cards to represent the digits, adding a physical element, which makes the learning more concrete.
We have a short 2-minute video here where you're going to get to see inside of a grade 9 math classroom where students are actively involved in their own student-centered learning. As Greg pointed out, you may notice that these classrooms look different and far more engaging than when we were in school. You're going to see students working at vertical whiteboards in groups, collaborating with their peers, working directly with their teachers, and using hands-on manipulatives to make sense of math concepts. Enjoy a look inside of a grade 9 math classroom here in Thames Valley.
If you need help in grade 9, like, you can get it obviously, and the teachers will help you, and it really helped me a lot.
The beautiful thing about tiles, and actually this extends to any manipulative, is that we're really maintaining this idea of like a low entry point. So every single student in the room can do something, but especially when we start using these manipulatives more mainstream, you know, you're not just going to be using them in grade 9, you're going to be using them in grade 10, in grade 11, and grade 12. As you touch on new concepts, you're kind of looking at what the students have learned in the past.
So don't wait and if you need like help with math, if you don't understand it, you can ask the teacher because the teachers will always help you.
Making everybody's thinking completely transparent. Everybody can look around the room openly, share ideas and thoughts, work within groups, and I'm able to focus on individual students, to not only students who are kind of struggling with concepts, give them more one-on-one attention while everybody is still working.
All right, so to build off of the video that we just watched together, you can see a few pictures here on the screen that show a sample of what a grade 9 math class may look like here in Thames Valley. So some things to kind of take notice of here. First off, you can see the students are collaborating and they're thinking with their peers in ways that are safe for them to try new things and be willing to make mistakes, since this is how learning really occurs. This is very, very helpful in building a strong sense of community in the classroom and a culture that emphasizes learning from and with one another. And as was mentioned before, that we have these manipulatives that you can see on the desk. There's students that are working with some tiles and some hands-on concrete tools. In addition, making connections to some visual representations, and these are used by all students to help understand and demonstrate their thinking. And back to what Cassie was mentioning about the low floor and high ceiling, this allows for multiple entry points for all of our students. And you can see here that the students are active participants in that entire learning process. And again, this provides our students with a safe environment to participate in and work with their peers. The focus is entirely on those communication skills that are vital to those real world experiences. And you can also see that the learning is individualized for our students to ensure that all learning needs are being met through small group discussions. As a teacher, I'm able to bounce around the room and provide various hints for those who require hints, and extensions for those who are looking to take that next step, and as a really good way to cater to individual students or small groups. For instance, I can think of in one of my classrooms a few days ago, we were discussing some measurement concepts relating to painting the classroom. And there was one group that I was working with that just needed some assistance with the actual formulas of calculating the area, where there was another group that started extending and wanted to figure out additional projects in the classroom, if you will, like if we wanted to add some carpeting instead of the tile floor, or change the trim so it wasn't that black trim that you see along the bottom of the walls. So it's just a really good opportunity to engage as many students as possible and provide a real world experience in communicating and working in small groups. Okay, I think I'm going to pass it over to Rob for the next slide there.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. So we just want to talk a little bit about, there were some questions when we looked through the survey responses, just again, highlighting some of the differences between traditional streaming versus de-streaming. So students coming out of grade 8 are no longer going to have to make decisions about academic or applied pathways that will directly impact their future academic or career options. Students can now become immersed in their grade 9 year, and with the help of their teachers and guidance counselors, begin to make informed decisions about their future courses that's going to allow them to move forward in their desired career or academic goals. Like in grades 7 and 8, students will be met where they are in their learning. This means that not everyone will always be learning the same thing at the same time. The teaching and learning is more student-centered and focused on individual needs rather than a one-size-fits-all. As you saw in the video and as Jeff just explained, there are many opportunities for small group instructions in order to help meet students where they are at in their learning. It's also important to note that the curriculum for both English and French immersion are now identical in the grade 9 programs, and almost all students will now enter grade 9 math and enroll in the D-Streamed math program. We just wanted to highlight, again, there were some questions that were asked, and I want to make sure that we, again, as much as it's a grade 9 presentation, we wanted to make sure that we addressed kind of what maybe it looks like as we move forward in grade 10, 11, and 12. So during a student's grade 9 year, they're going to be encouraged to discuss their post-secondary plans and any thoughts they might have with their teachers and guidance counselors in order to help map out a plan that will allow them to follow their academic and career goals, whether that be entering the workforce, an apprenticeship, or studying at college or university. The paths can always vary. The new grade 9 program will ensure that all pathway options are available to students after completing grade 9 math. As of this upcoming September 2022, all grade 9 courses will be D-streamed and applied courses will no longer be offered in grade 9. In grade 10, students will have the opportunity to choose between academic, applied, or workplace pathway after completing their grade 9 math course. These pathway choices will continue into grade 11 and 12, where students will have more opportunities to continue to study math as it relates to their own personal academic and career goals. All of this is going to be done in collaboration with their teachers, guidance counselors, student success teams, and of course, you, the family at home.
So as Rob had just mentioned, one of the questions that had a good theme coming from some of the comments coming in was, what about grade 9 to 10? Are students going to be prepared, and what does that look like? So we did want to talk about from a big, large scope picture first, and Rob has just mentioned, in the 2022-2023 school year, we will continue to offer grade 10 academic, grade 10 applied, and the grade 10 locally developed. And because this is a transition year, the Ministry of Education, as of yesterday, released what they called an addenda for those grade 10 curriculums to reflect the changes that happened in the grade 9 course to help bridge the gaps that may have been there from the old to the new. And so our plan is, from a system, we are going to develop and help teachers make sure that that addenda is ready to go, and we are ready to meet those challenges into grade 10. From a TV-DSB perspective, next slide, I think. Yeah, if we just look focused on from a TV-DSB perspective, we want to assure you that every year our staff have focused on what we're going to call the essential learnings, or those essential skills needed for future success are the focus. Students will be challenged as needed, and all learners are going to be given opportunities to experience success. Staff will continue to make good use of the practice of incorporating diagnostic tasks early and often to identify students' skills and the levels of those skills to ensure that students are met at the proper level of understanding as they enter into any grade. And it's important to remember those expectations that are outlined, those are the end of course goals. There is no expectation that students start knowing that. So we're again going to continue to put trust in those grade 9 teachers and grade 9 programs, that they are focusing on those essential learnings to prepare those students for success in grade 10. The same way that, and as you're going to hear over the next little bit, we put trust in our grade 8 programs. We have fantastic grade 8 programs in our system. They are preparing your students to be successful in grade 8. But as I've said, we will meet them where they are at. We will ensure that we diagnose early and come up with success plans for those students so that way they do have a chance to experience success as they enter into high school.
All right, so we can see here that we're looking at some of the changes that have taken place in our curriculum. That you can notice that there are 5 strands, in addition to 2 additional strands: the social emotional learning, as well as mathematical thinking and making connections. Those 2 strands are embedded within the entire curriculum, alongside our numbers, algebra, data, geometry measurement, and financial literacy. And these are aligned really, really well with the grade 1 to 8 curriculum, which was updated the year previously, and really helps with to ensure a smooth consistency in the learning journey, and also makes the transition to high school math for our students much more manageable. Idea here is that we're gaining a number sense and working with algebraic patterning concepts. It continues to be a focus to help students build confidence in their mathematical understanding. So new to the curriculum, we have this coding and computational thinking. They're a welcome addition to the grade 9 course, specifically in our algebra strand. And just to be clear, this course, it's not designed to be a coding course, but rather coding is used as a tool to help make sense of processes, problem solving, critical thinking, and computational thinking. Skills which will definitely be transferable and valuable in future occupations and in future studies. Further, coding is just something that we can use as a tool to consolidate understanding of concepts that spread throughout the entirety of the curriculum. In addition, the financial literacy is a new and significant component to this course. Students will gain an understanding of money, debt, financial planning, and budgeting. Skills that they will most definitely be able to continue to build upon and use in practical situations as we move forward. And specifically, I really like the wording that is used in the curriculum from this, because it says that the idea is to demonstrate the knowledge and skills needed to make informed financial decisions. So again, it's this idea of trying to make it authentic, and it's a wonderful addition to the curriculum for sure.
Great. So we also had a number of questions about how students are going to be supported in grade 9. And we believe in the growth, learning, and success of your student and want to ensure that they're supported in their transition from grade 8 to grade 9. This transition includes many people to support you and your student, including teachers, guidance counselors, learning support staff, administrators, and the current elementary team at your student's school. We know that family involvement is a key component to student success, and we value your partnership. When your student enters grade 9, you can expect regular communication from the school regarding events and important dates, as well as regular updates from classroom teachers about your student's progress and next steps. Each high school has a student success team that is connecting with elementary schools now to support this transition and will continue to support your student in grade 9 and throughout high school. As your student becomes involved in their school community, they will build other connections to coaches and club advisors that will further support their success.
Okay, so how will teachers instruct, assess, and evaluate students to meet the learning needs? Teachers often take the approach of necessary for some, good for all. Some students have specific accommodation needs as listed on their individual education plans, which will always be met. Teachers often use many of these accommodations and teaching strategies with everyone, as they are good for all students and their individual learning needs, including those who have an individual education plan or IEP. Teachers will be providing regular, detailed, and ongoing feedback to help students learn and understand concepts. This feedback is descriptive and directed at the individual student learning to help them make sense of unfamiliar concepts. In the example that we worked through earlier, the teacher provides feedback, hints, and extensions throughout the activity, allowing students to immediately apply the feedback for growth. Student learning is individually tailored, and students are met where they are currently working. Staff have access to curriculum connections from the grade 9 curriculum to both the grade 7 and 8 curricula as well as extensions to the grade 10 curriculum. This allows for staff to make learning individualized and tailored for student needs. Many staff are using a spiraled approach to exploring the curriculum, allowing students to see the same concept multiple times in a learning and assessment environment. Students are able to demonstrate their learning progression on the same concept throughout the course, not just one time on a single written test. Evidence of student understanding is gathered from observations, conversations, and physical products. This allows students to demonstrate their learning and understanding of concepts in a way that is meaningful to them and ensures an equitable practice for all learners. Students are encouraged to reflect on their own needs and challenges and are directed to practice that moves them along the learning continuum rather than all students completing all of the same questions. Teachers are always willing to provide extra support for every student.
One of the other main themes that came out was concern for how do we know if our grade 8 entering grade 9 student is prepared? What can we do to help prepare them? And what are those next steps? So I just want to outline a few of those things that we have set up in Thames Valley to help prepare or provide opportunities for grade 8s to help ease that transition into grade 9 math. First off, again, as I've said before, we have fantastic grade 8 programs in this system that are preparing your student for the best transition. Those administrators and school support teams at the elementary level are experts in helping your students be prepared for grade 9 in all aspects, not just math. We trust and believe that they've done the best and what is necessary for your student to succeed. And as Liat had already mentioned, we have transition meetings from secondary and elementary to help provide a window of what those new grade 9 students are going to be coming in. So it gives us a future look. In terms of actionable next steps, if there is a concern, Thames Valley offers a program called High School Math, Here I Come. So if that's something that you might be interested in, I can give you the information, and this information is also available through the Thames Valley's website under the program section. So if you're going to write it down, it is there as well, so don't worry. But this High School Math, Here I Come, it's a 14-day summer program designed for grade 8 students entering high school in September. It's geared towards students who would like to develop their math skills as they prepare to enter secondary school. Students will have the opportunity to build on their knowledge from grade 8 in order to be ready for grade 9. The dates for High School Math, Here I Come are July 11th through the 28th. It runs from 9 a.m. till 12 a.m. every day. It is online synchronous, so live instruction will be happening. And registration starts for that program in May, I think around the 12th, and the registration information will be available again through that Thames Valley programs page. You can look for High School Here I Come. So that's one opportunity if that's a program your grade 8 entering grade 9 might be interested in. The other one, we've provided a QR code there. There's a bit.ly website there. What it's going to do is it's going to take you to a self-directed learning document that we've created. It adapted from one of the York regions. That way it fits what our Thames Valley model and what we've focused on. And that self-directed learning model, it's kind of like a skills check-in for grade 8s to reaffirm their understanding of those key concepts and to provide an informal environment to review concepts that maybe you didn't feel as comfortable with at a pace that's comfortable for you. And there is no expectation that you're perfect on it. It's really just meant to shine a light on the skills you do have. So to decrease that anxiety. So it's not like you need to know everything, but hey, I know I'm good with this skill or this skill. In the document, there are links directly to a website from the University of Waterloo that goes through helpful tutorial videos, further practice questions. So if there's a topic that any grade 8 student decided, I want to challenge myself, I want to review a skill because I felt like I didn't feel comfortable, those links are there for you. If you go to the next slide, it shows you what that first page looks like. So again, that QR code, if you scanned it, you would see this document. If you're saying, oh, I didn't scan it, we are going to put this again on the de-streamed website through the Thames Valley page, so you can have access to this as well. So you can see we've identified major skill sets down the left-hand side. So one of the things we want to make sure grade 8s know how to do is work with rational numbers, or an example, orders of operation, or and as it goes through. They use this and complete this task as they are ready, and then they kind of self-check. Am I good? Am I somewhere in the middle? Or I really struggled with this. And you can see on the right side, those blue are hyperlinks to extra support. And so it's really an unintrusive way to provide time for students over whatever period they want to just check in of their skills. The key we want to address though, these are the skills that a student should have at the end of grade 8. So don't rush to it tomorrow or after March break and say, oh, we have to know everything. The focus is by the end of grade 8, these would be those skills that we would say, you know, whatever you can get from here are those great skills moving forward.
Excellent. Well, thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. We did want to try to respect everybody's time and leave some time here at the end for some question and answer period. So we just want to thank you for joining us this evening. And we do hope that you found the information presented useful. We do appreciate all the questions that were asked along the way and the questions that were submitted in the survey. And we're going to do our best to try to answer as many of them as possible right now. So some questions have come through the chat, so I am going to kind of read them and pass it off to some of my colleagues here to see if we can get some answers here. So one of the first questions that was asked was regarding how are classroom groups formed in these active classroom environments that we saw in pictures and in videos. And for that, I'm going to pass it over to Jeff.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate it. Yeah, so it's a really, really good question, actually. And just as a bit of a story behind it, a lot of the learning styles that you saw within the video as well as the pictures is actually based off of research by Peter Liljedahl. He's a math education teacher at Simon Fraser University in British Columbia. And Peter came up with this concept called thinking classroom, and this thinking classroom concept was all research based. So Peter went around to, I don't know how many, I want to say like a couple hundred classrooms from all the way from kindergarten to grade 12, and was just taking a look at some of the different techniques that could be used to really intensify the thinking that was taking place in the classes, hence the name Thinking Classrooms. And one of the big components behind that was the ability for students to work within small groups. And I was really fascinated actually by that research, because I think, you know, kind of the traditional thought that I had was, you know, I could assign students to random groups and, you know, find a way to get students to work together. But what his research actually found was there's a lot of social dynamics involved in how groups are formed. And even if I, as a teacher, do in fact randomly create a group, the perception on the student's end is that it's not randomly created. And immediately when those students are placed in that group, there starts to be a bit of an internal discussion and looking around saying, who am I in this group? Where do I fit in the social dynamic? Where Peter's research had shown that choosing groups at random is a really, really good way to break down those social barriers. So all the students enter that group situation kind of at an even approach. So those group dynamics aren't in place, and they have an ability to approach those problems in a fair and equitable place. And also, as we mentioned, it's a safe learning environment.
Awesome, Jeff. Thanks so much for taking that question. It's a great response. Another question that we had come in here was about whether or not parents and families would be able to access this presentation afterwards. And I do want to let you know that the presentation will be uploaded. This entire video stream with the question and answer period here at the end will be uploaded to the DStreaming website. So that's the tvdsb.ca/DStreaming, and it will be uploaded to that site. I'll say soon. I don't want to give an actual time and date, but I'm going to say soon it's going to be uploaded for families to be able to actually access that. Another question that has come in, this is a great question, is this DStreaming of math going to be offered in all Thames Valley schools? And for that, I'm going to pass it over to Liette, our assistant principal.
Great, thanks Rob, and thanks for the question. As mentioned in the presentation, DStreaming is happening all across the province, so every school in Thames Valley will be engaged in the DStream math curriculum, as well as the DStreamed grade 9 courses that were mentioned, all the other courses. So DStreaming is a provincial-wide decision, and each school will be DStreamed, whether you're in Thames Valley or any other board across the province.
Awesome. Thank you, Liette. Appreciate that. I do just also want to clarify, there was a couple questions that have come in just about the pathways after grade 9. So I do just want to clarify that any student who takes the grade 9 DStreamed math or just grade 9 math has the option of enrolling in the workplace, applied, or academic pathway in grade 10. So all those pathways are going to be open. You don't have to make decisions about that now. Those are going to be conversations that you'll be able to have, like we said, with your teachers, your guidance counselors, your student success team, and involving family at home to determine what pathway is going to be best for you and your future goals. Another question that we had come in here was regarding that self-directed learning document that Greg just mentioned. So I'm going to pass it over to Greg. Greg, the question was, when can we get into this self-directed training? And can you just re-explain kind of the purpose of that document for us?
Yeah, so if you missed the QR code, totally fine. What we've said we're going to do, as Rob just mentioned, where this video will be uploaded, we will also upload it to that same web page. So it was tvdsb.ca/DStream. I think there's a hyphen in there, or DStreaming. We'll give it there. We also said we're going to share it with the grade 8 teachers, so they will be receiving that self-directed document as well. So any grade 8 teacher will be getting it. And what was the other part?
The other part was just about the when they should start diving into the actual document.
And in theory, again, it is self-directed. So I know some of us were probably already starting to do it, that clicked that QR code. It's okay. It really isn't meant to be that at the end of grade 8. So if you started it next week and you're working through it, you still might be covering some of that in grade 8. And it's okay. It's not, this is what you need to know now. This is what you should be knowing and best prepared moving into grade 9. And again, you're not going to know everything potentially, and you're not going to be perfect everywhere. We really just wanted to highlight what you do know to help ease that transition and provide opportunities to help reinforce some of those skills. So again, I wouldn't rush into it, but it is up to you to self-pace it when you're ready. So when we get it uploaded and then when we share with our grade 8 colleagues, that will be there for you as well, okay?
Awesome, Greg, thank you so much, appreciate that. So another question kind of building on this grade 8 to grade 9 preparedness, a question had come up about what can students do or what happens if students aren't or feel they're not prepared at the end of grade 8. And For that, I'm going to pass it over to one of our classroom teachers and de-streaming leads, Cassie Tamiga.
Yeah, so this is where we don't want you to worry as families, okay? So just as Greg was mentioning, it's our job as educators to help your students to recover their learning, also from this challenging past couple of years, and to help them diagnose or find out where they are with particular curriculum expectations and grow those skills. So as I was saying before, we kind of find out where they're at and build off of those skills. So we discover their entry point and provide the structure to help them move along the learning continuum. So if your student doesn't have a level 3 on everything coming into grade 9, that's perfectly fine. It is our job as educators to ease them into that transition and also to really dig down as to what our fundamental skills are. I teach grade 12 as well, and we're always going back to fundamental skills. Just like coaching anything, fundamental skills are always going to keep coming up. So just think of it that way, is that we'll always go back to those fundamental skills and build up from there.
Awesome, Cassie. Thank you so much. Great response. Great answer. It's our teachers are the experts in the classroom. It's amazing. So another really, really great question came in, and it has to do with, again, what Jeff had referred to earlier as the thinking classrooms, these whiteboards around the room. And the question came in from a family, and it said, how will children who don't do well with having their work on display, as demonstrated in the video, be supported? And for that, I'm going to pass it over to Jeff.
Alrighty, thanks, Rob. Another great question. I think it's a very interesting one. So the first thing to really make note of it, and I was really eager to jump on this one because that particular class that was in the video, there were quite a few students actually in that group that on day 1 were very hesitant to have their work on display, incredibly so. And the idea behind this thinking classroom, you know, as we've been talking about, is it's about communication. And it starts with this idea of making a safe learning environment. And, you know, we're not necessarily jumping day 1 right into like heavy curriculum. We're working on what Peter Lloyd-All refers to as like good problem solving questions. And again, with this concept of having a low floor and high ceiling, every student has the ability to enter into these problems with some previous knowledge. And it's my job as the educator to really unlock that. And I know full well that in every class that I teach, there are going to be students who are very hesitant to share their work, but it's all in how that work being shared, how it's framed. And, you know, that we do focus on the fact that, like I even go as a teacher, I'll be honest, on purpose, on the first couple of days, I will make massive mistakes in front of everybody to show the fact that, hey, I make mistakes. And I think it's important for us to really lean into that concept that learning is about making mistakes. And it's quite all right to make mistakes. And as soon as the students have that comfort, you know, it's certainly the ability to share certainly becomes a lot better, a lot easier. Because I honestly do, I think that everybody has good ideas. Everyone has a really, really good idea to share. And it's all about, you know, making sure that we have a community that's built where people feel safe to participate fully and share those opinions.
Awesome, Jeff. Thanks so much for taking that and answering that as well as you did. We have another question that has come in here, and it was just a clarification question about where families can find more information about summer learning programs, the high school math Here I Come. So for that, I'm going to pass it over to our assistant principal, Scott.
Yeah, hi everybody. While the presentation was going on, I saw that question come in. I just on my other screen here just Googled summer programs or TVDSB summer school in Google, and the first thing that came up was summer programs and camps, TVDSB. I clicked on it, and there's some information about many programs, but one is high school math Here I Come. And I know there was a follow-up question, probably from a different family, just asking, is there limits? How many students are involved? We like doing this program. We want your students. So we don't have any firm plans in place. I can't give you a number right now to say, oh, only 50 students or 100 students. Just, you know, if you want that experience, we'd love to see you, and we'll help you get registered for that.
Awesome, Scott. Thanks so much for addressing that and taking that. So with that final question, that is all the questions that have come in. We've done our best to try to address all the questions that families had in that survey ahead of time. And we know that there's going to be more questions as we approach the end of grade 8. So as always, continue to reach out to your grade 8 teacher, to your grade 8 teams, and then you can even reach out to your grade 9 teams as you get there. There's a huge support system in place for students as they move from grade 8 to grade 9. This is just one step of it. All of the information, like we said, is going to be posted to that tvdsb.ca/dstreaming. Everything will be on there. This video, we're going to have that document that Greg had mentioned. That's going to be on there to make sure that everybody has the access to everything at their fingertips. So once again, we really thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope that you have a great night and enjoy your March break coming up in just a couple of days. Thanks, everybody.